the entrepreneurship, the ability to have a vision, to chase it, and that's what I've watched Justin do during the course of his career. Talking about commissions, talking about nepotism. I believe his dad brought him into the business and had him on a 15-point contract paying for leads. I believe that's right, something like that, right? But he has really turned into a wild success, and he's creative, he's an innovator, he's a connector. He's got the Medicare Con now that we're excited about as that continues to grow and expand, and he's bringing value to the agent every day. And so please make welcome Mr. Justin Brock to the stage.
Subscribe. We put out tons and tons of free content, more than any FMO or carrier out there, but we have to get the subscribers to continue to put it out. So if you're watching this, you're consuming it, please subscribe. Do it for me, because you like me, you love me, and you want our channel to grow so we can put out more stuff for you.
Okay, Scotty is from Mississippi as well, the Magnolia State, Mississippi. My vocabulary is not as big as his. Tyler's right about that. He'd said a word earlier I wrote down. I probably misspelled it, but I'm going to go look it up later. I'm going to pull out these cards. I don't know if I'll follow it very well, but I was told early by Shane to speak about our hybrid model, and then in the emails preceding that he said, Justin's the fire-up speaker. So hybrid model doesn't fire anybody up. So I'm not going to talk about my hybrid model concept. I'm going to try to talk about a little bit of my story, because a lot of people are telling stories, and I think it's important because it helps people get kind of fired up, to see where somebody's come from, and that meteoric, there's a Scotty word, meteoric rise that somebody like Tyler's had, so many people here have had. And I don't know what they're talking about. I can see everybody's face perfect, by the way. They're just older than me and they can't see me. So, but listen, so 2013, this is kind of how I got into the industry. It's similar to what Scotty was saying, it's part of it, but 2013, I'm in the Marine Corps. I've been in 7 years. I'm the sergeant. I'm in charge of operations for a thing called VMR Det 1. It's a VIP transport squadron. We flew around generals and stuff, and I was the operations chief of the squadron. And I'm traveling a lot. I'm going back and forth, Philippines, Thailand. I'm based out of Iwakuni, Japan. I have my ride-or-die wife with me. I've been married to her for 15 years. I know that, just to do the math, I was 19 when I got married, just so you know. I was 15 years married to her, but at the time, she had been with me since basically 6 months after I enlisted in the Marine Corps. We had 2 kids, been in 7 years. My son is 2, my daughter's a newborn baby. And basically I'm going to these places, and when I come back, these kids will forget who you are at that time. They don't, if you're gone for 2 months, they'll forget who you are. So I started thinking, for the first few years, I'm thinking like, I can do this forever. It's cool. I got the cool factor of being an operator in the Marine Corps. Not a lot of money, but security. There's some financial security. Your health insurance is covered. My babies were free. I know a lot of you probably paid for your babies. Mine were free. A lot of great things about it, but it's just not a great place to raise a family. My wife was tired, as many people would be with a 2-year-old and a newborn, but she was also in Iwakuni, no parents, no family members. I'm gone all the time, very tired. So it just wasn't adding up. So, fast forward 2014, I get out. February, I go and get my license. Why did I get my license? My dad was an agent. So when I was, I can't remember, 7 or 8, he got licensed. Here's how this is a quick story, and I know I got the white LeBron James here that's about to tell me how much time I have, but listen, when I was a little kid, my dad said we're at church, and this lady comes up to him. He's a carpet salesman at Sears, and this lady comes up to him and says, "You look like an insurance agent," which is something nobody wants to hear, by the way. Like, is anybody, like somebody comes to you say, "Shit, I guess I do." But he got recruited in that way to American General as a captive agent, and he was one of the field local office American General guys. And eventually he found the way in the Medicare supplement space and became a Medicare supplement, basically plan flipper. He was the guy that would go out and look for people that pay him too much, plan J's. I think even when he came into it, it may have been right around the time of early standardization. And so I grew up hearing about it. I grew up working for him part-time too, where I'd go and get boxes of Continental General and, American Pioneer papers and come in. And he's calling people on the phone book, set up appointments, going to their house with paper applications and file boxes. And that's what I knew about insurance. I mean, he very much did look like an insurance agent. And so that's why I joined the Marine Corps. I was like, I don't want to look like that. That's so lame. But when I got out, it looked increasingly more appealing to be able to do what he did, which is go from, us being poor to being what I would have considered strong middle class. So I got to see that rise out of poverty in the insurance industry. So when I'm getting out, I'm thinking, if I go get a job, I'm going to be making, here, I'm going to have this ceiling here. I was looking at all the jobs you get coming out as an operator in the Marine Corps. You're looking at 50, 60, 70,000, which would have replaced my income from the military. But I was like, I just hate that ceiling. I would work for somebody else, and I see my dad do it, so I'm going to go try this. So that's why I did get in. So then I thought, well, I'll go with my dad because he won't steer me in the wrong direction. He puts me at a below street contract and says, okay, you're going to drop Medigap, rewrite direct mailers with target leads. Travis Buck still works there. And I want to pay for half of them, but then you have to split all of your applications 50% with me, which is not a great deal, but I didn't know that at the time, and that's really good, actually. It's one of the best things that having a dad in the industry did for me is I didn't know what an FMO was. I never heard that term. I didn't get recruited in by an IMO or FMO and NMO, and I don't have an issue with IMOs, FMOs, NMOs, because there's a lot of great ones, but there's also some that will recruit you in and don't really have a whole lot to offer because they're too top-heavy, is what I would call them. Well, I didn't have that. I didn't have an excuse. I didn't have an FMO to whine to. My dad would have been the person I'm whining to, and he likes to whine to their dad, right? He would say some vulgarity stuff to me, and I'm not going to repeat it, because some of you might not like it. But, so I didn't whine. I just went out and did exactly what he told me to, and I'm writing 2 to 5 Medicare supplements a week, driving my fully unloaded 2010 Corolla around the scorching, humid heat of northeast Mississippi, where Scotty is familiar with. And, I felt like I was doing pretty well. I got to the point after draining all of my savings and everything where I finally got to the point where I'm replacing my income or getting close to it, short of winging it with no health insurance. But I was making it, and then I had this big break. And I'll take this back to, there's this concept that I call the power of possible. And I think Scotty may have alluded to it earlier, Tyler did, and it's this thing when you know something is possible, you'll work way harder towards it. You'll sacrifice a lot more towards it, because if it's possible, it's worth giving up something for. And one of the problems with most people that get recruited into the industry that are getting recruited by a trusted friend or family member that has been successful in it, is they don't know what's possible. So because my dad was in it, and I saw him go from, let's say 0 to 4 or 5 on that, spectrum I saw at the time, I knew that was possible. So I didn't doubt it, just went out, did exactly what he told me to, because I was like, if I do what he tells me to, I'll get to where he got to, because that's exactly what he was doing, right? That was a great gift, knowing what was possible and believing it, okay? But then that second thing happened. So does anybody know my AT&T story? The AT&T retired story? Okay, it's on YouTube, but basically what happened is, a lot of my stories are on YouTube, by the way. Don't come to my conference, just watch me on YouTube. But 2 minutes, see, I told you. Okay, so here's my AT&T story, right? So anybody familiar with the Aon Hewitt AT&T fiasco 2014 going to 2015? So I was out running my target leads direct mailers, and I knocked on the door, so I didn't call them an appointment set. This is med sup, so no compliance BS to me here. I would just go and knock on the door. My dad said, call an appointment setting, it's bullshit. Nobody wants an appointment with you. You just show up with that card and say, you fill this out and get in the door. He told me, put on your Nunn Bush penny loafers, your pressed slacks, and your Oxford blue shirt, and you'll get in the door, clean shaven. You can see I've changed that a little bit, but it worked. So I go to this house, and this guy is deaf and in a wheelchair. in a little bitty house. Looks like you turn one of those portable sheds into a house. But, you know, when you're trying to scrap, if they'll let you in the house, you're gonna talk to them, right? So this guy lets me in the house, and I'm trying to talk to him, I can't communicate. But he figures out he needs to get somebody else there. His sister lives next door, so he brings her over. We're able to save him about $150 on his Medicare supplement using a substandard underwriting through AARP, United Healthcare. And he had a plan in guaranteed issue. You can guess the company, it was like $480 a month. But when his sister came, she was turning 65. And her husband was an AT&T retiree. I'd never heard of this, what was going on here, right? You know, but he wanted to talk about it. Turns out he was the head honcho for AT&T before he retired in that area, the Bell South area. And so I ended up doing a whole lot of research with him, staying up, figuring out, hey, you can get a Medicare supplement dental plan through another person at a better rate, making your health reimbursement arrangement go further. If you're not familiar with this, look it up. These health reimbursement will help you close some deals. Health reimbursement arrangements were set up by AT&T for them to reimburse their expenses. So I figured out that they could get things through me as long as they got their Part D plan through Aon Hewitt. And since we figured that out, he said, okay, I'm gonna go with you. And I thought, great. I stayed up, I researched and closed 2 cases. But Ron had a friend. That's his name, Ron. Oh, it's not HIPAA violation, it's one name. So Ron had a friend who needed help. Ron's friend had another friend who needed help, and then he had 2 friends who needed help. And it turned into this daisy chain. I was like, wow, I found this honey hole that people talk about. Well, then one of those friends ended up being the president of the Communication Workers of America Retiree Union. They invite me to speak, and there's 75 retirees show up. I speak to them, then they invite me to another hall, speak to another 20. That AEP, this is my first AEP, by the way, I started in February. First AEP, I write 250 med subs to these AT&T retirees, in addition to whatever else I would have been doing. Plus a lot of dental, a lot of this other stuff. So what it did, though, what did it do really quickly? It changed the level of what the power of possibility was to me. The power of possibility was no longer 2 to 5 applications a week in my fully unloaded Toyota Corolla. It was, how do I get more of that to happen? And that's when I got into some other marketing and all that scale. Now, I would be happy to tell the further evolution of that story, but it's very important for you to know that you could be 1 lead away. If you've read Think and Grow Rich, you can be 3 feet from gold. So if you're somebody who's talking about it, somebody may be thinking about giving up, and you shouldn't be, you're all the top 100, but you may have an agent out there that's thinking about giving up. They can be 3 feet from gold. They can be 1 lead away from Joe and Ron introducing them to Communication Workers of America Retiree Union. 250 med subs in your first AP really sets you up for success. So let them know that. 3 feet from gold, 1 lead away, keep going. The residual income and the opportunity in this space is amazing. Thank you to Shane and SRG for letting me speak here. They're great partners of ours. Also,
it's time to grow your agency like a guru. Introducing Go Guru Pro. The Go High Level platform allows for minimizing software-based subscriptions and grants control over several facets of marketing and communication. Automate your workflow, communicate with your leads, book appointments in advance, and house all your clients in one secure location. Visit goguru.pro and schedule your one-on-one demo today.